I wish I could say I was surprised. I wish I could tell you that when I walked into that restaurant, dressed better than I had in years, heart cautiously hopeful, I wasn't already bracing for disappointment. But the truth is, I was. Somewhere deep down, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. 2 weeks earlier, my mom had texted me. No context. Just, family dinner on the 15th. Dress nice. That was it. No warmth. No follow-up. No we'd love to see you. But I clung to the idea that maybe, just maybe, this would be different. Maybe I was finally going to be treated like part of the family. Not the add-on. Not the backup. Just, part of it. I replied, sure, looking forward to it. Like a fool. Like someone who hadn't already been burned dozens of times. The night before, I sent a quick message, should I bring anything? And got no reply. The morning of, I checked again, just confirming time and place, still nothing. At 2 p.m., my sister Emily finally chimed in, don't stress. Just come at 7, dress nice. I don't know why that phrasing stuck with me. Don't stress. Like I was the difficult one. Like I was the one likely to make things messy. Still, I got ready. I shaved. I put on my best blazer. I even brought a small bottle of wine, nothing fancy. But something thoughtful. The kind of thing you bring when you think you're walking into a night of reconnection. A night where things might turn around. I showed up 15 minutes early. The place was one of those dimly lit, overpriced downtown restaurants where even the water glasses are intimidating. I gave the name, Green Party. Table for 6, and smiled when the hostess nodded and started walking me over. For a moment, just a moment, my chest warmed. Maybe they did remember. Maybe they did want me there. And then she paused. Oh, sorry, she said, scanning her tablet. There's been a change. The party's actually over here. I followed her, confused but still hopeful, until we stopped at a tiny 2-person table shoved awkwardly near the kitchen doors. The laminated bar menu sat propped up by a cracked salt shaker. I blinked. I think there's a mistake. I'm with the Green Party. 6 people? She gave me a practiced smile. That's what I was told. Sir, your family's over there. She pointed. And that's when I saw them, my mom, my dad, Emily, my older brother Timothy and his wife, all seated at a beautiful round table. Laughing. Wine glasses already half empty. Appetizers already on the way. Like a celebration. Like a scene from a family I never quite belonged to. I just stood there. I watched as Emily turned, smirked, and said, oh hey, Stephen, we figured you'd want something simple. So we asked them to give you the bar menu. I didn't move. Timothy leaned back in his seat, arms slung around his wife, and added, yeah, didn't think you'd want a full dinner anyway. My mom? She didn't even look at me. Just sipped her wine. And my dad? He waved over the waiter. We'll start with the oysters and the truffle flatbread. Keep the drinks coming. That was it. No smile. No greeting. No chair. Just that little laminated menu. And a table meant for someone they hadn't wanted to sit with. I don't remember how long I stood there. Long enough to feel my throat tighten. Long enough for the wine bottle in my hand to feel heavier than it should have. Long enough to realize that every unspoken doubt I'd buried for years, every birthday they forgot. Every dinner I wasn't invited to. Every time I was asked to pay but never included, wasn't in my head. It was real. It was here. It was laminated in cheap plastic and shoved beside the kitchen. I thought of all the things I'd done for them. The bills I covered when no one asked. The groceries I dropped off when Emily lost her job. The thousands I quietly funneled into helping Timothy fix his mortgage. Or my parents keep their utilities on when things got tight. I remembered how I organized this dinner. I made the damn reservation. I picked the date, and they still left me by the kitchen. And worst of all, they didn't even think it would hurt me. That's what broke me more than anything. They didn't think I'd care. They didn't think it would matter. I didn't sit down. I didn't go to that little table. I didn't even walk over to confront them. I just stood there. And in that moment, a cold clarity hit me like ice water. This isn't a misunderstanding. This isn't an oversight. This is intentional. They didn't forget me. They dismissed me. On purpose. I took a slow breath and turned back toward the host stand. What happened after that? How I transferred the bill. How I sat outside quietly while they enjoyed the meal I orchestrated. None of that compared to that moment of realization. That gut punch when you finally see people for who they really are. When you realize the door you've been knocking on for years isn't locked, it's just never been meant for you. So I left. Not in a storm. Not with tears or yelling. I just walked away from that laminated menu. From that simple seat by the kitchen. From the idea that maybe one day they'd make room for me. Because the truth is, they already had. And it was by the door. I didn't storm out of the restaurant that night. I didn't make a scene. I didn't raise my voice or flip a table or throw their oysters on the floor. That would have been easy. Expected. Even. No, they wanted me emotional. Unstable. They wanted to prove, once again, that I was too sensitive to handle a joke. But I didn't give them that. I gave them the bill. And then I gave them silence. While they were still polishing off dessert, I was halfway home, sitting at my kitchen counter. Wine still corked, jacket still on. I opened my laptop, not out of spite, not out of revenge, just clarity. The kind of clarity that only comes after years of trying to belong. Of constantly giving without asking for anything back, and then getting shoved next to the kitchen with a laminated menu. That was the last time I paid quietly. I opened a new spreadsheet and started with one column, what I've covered. Another column, who benefited. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't messy. It was facts, just raw data. Emily's car insurance? $197 per month. I'd been paying it for 14 months straight. Why? Because she needed time to get back on her feet. Funny how she could afford designer purses but not liability coverage. Timothy's gym membership? $89 per month. Netflix? Hulu? Disney Plus? All under my family plan. Every one of them piggybacking off my account like it was part of some unspoken deal. Only, it wasn't. No one asked. No one thanked me. They just assumed. The house? That one hit different. 5 years ago, when my parents were close to losing their home, I co-signed the refinance to help them get a better rate. My credit was the only reason they kept the house. I told myself it was temporary. That one day they'd refinance in their own names. They never did. I was the safety net. Not because they loved me. Not because they respected me. But because I was useful. And that night, after they sat me by the kitchen and laughed without me, I realized something simple and brutal. If I didn't stop this, it would never stop. So I started quietly pulling the plug. Emily's car insurance? Cancelled. I didn't even tell her. I just removed my card from the account and hit confirm. Timothy's subscriptions? Gone. When he texted me the next morning with why the hell is Netflix logged out, I ignored it. Let him call customer service. The family phone plan? I was the administrator. One click. Removed myself. Locked the settings. Done. The big one was the house. I wasn't reckless. I didn't want to destroy their lives. But I wasn't going to hold it up anymore either. I called the estate attorney I'd met with 2 months earlier, just in case. We finalized the paperwork. I wasn't pulling the rug. I was pulling myself out of a contract I should have never signed. By noon the next day, everything was in motion. And still, I didn't say a word. No angry emails. No long texts. No explanations. I wasn't playing the part anymore. The fixer. The peacekeeper. The family ATM with a mute button. I was done. Around 3 p.m. The fallout began. Emily's first. Why is my insurance cancelled? I got pulled over this morning and had to explain with screenshots like some idiot. I didn't reply. Then Mom. Steven, your father is losing it over the Wi-Fi and the security cameras. Did you mess with something? I stared at the screen for a while. Thought about how many nights I stayed on hold with tech support just to fix the same system they now pretended they set up themselves. Thought about how I used to drop off groceries and reset their router while they barely looked up from the TV. Then I blocked her number. Not forever. Just long enough. Dad came next. His first text. What the hell is going on with the accounts? Then, fix it. Now. Then. This is not how families treat each other. That one made me laugh. Because that's exactly what I thought last night. When my own family sat 6 feet away from me and ordered oysters without offering me a seat. Timothy sent the most Timothy message possible. Bro. Did you seriously cut the gym and Netflix? Are you 12? I replied to him. Just one line. I thought you didn't want the soft guy making decisions for you. I'm just following your lead. No response. Silence never sounded so good. The next day, the emails started. From the bank. From the lawyer. From accounts I had closed. Redirected. Rerouted. All confirming what I already knew. I wasn't part of their financial ecosystem anymore. And when the notice from the mortgage company hit their mailbox, officially stating that their co-signer had withdrawn, and their terms would need re-evaluation. Well, that's when the real panic began. I didn't do it to hurt them. I did it because it wasn't mine to carry anymore. I had done enough, paid enough, fixed enough, and in return, they gave me a bar stool and a menu with burger sliders while they toasted each other over oysters and wine I paid for. Not anymore. I don't need a big confrontation. I don't need their approval. I don't even need an apology. What I need is peace. And I don't need to ask permission to claim it. The call started early. 7:43 a.m., to be exact. First Dad, then Emily, then Mom. I didn't answer any of them. Just watched the screen light up. Over and over. Like some kind of alarm bell I wasn't obligated to respond to anymore. By 9:17, they had switched tactics, from confused to outraged. Dad's voicemail. What is this letter? You pulled out of the mortgage? Are you out of your mind? Do you know what this does to our finances? You're going to wreck this family. Steven, you're doing this over dinner? Yes. And no. Because it wasn't just about dinner, it was about everything before it. Everything they thought they could get away with while I kept saying sure. No problem. I've got it. Mom's message came next. Steven. Sweetheart, I don't understand. We talked. I thought we agreed to move forward. Why would you do this without warning? This has to be some kind of misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? She watched me walk out of that restaurant like a stranger. She saw the seat they left empty for me, except it wasn't at their table. And now she was calling this a misunderstanding? It was gaslighting 101. And I'd had enough of the course. Then Emily chimed in. Predictably. Okay, you've made your point. Enough already. You embarrassed us. You shut everything down. If that makes you feel better. Congrats. I hope you're proud of yourself. The irony? I wasn't proud. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just done. Because what none of them understood, even now, even after everything, was that this wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't revenge. This was self-respect. Finally, by 10 o'clock, Timothy's text came in. You really did all this over a seat at dinner? Grow up. I almost laughed. The guy who hadn't paid his own phone bill in 3 years was telling me to grow up. I set my phone down and went back to my coffee. Around noon, there was a knock at my door. Not a text, not a call, an actual knock. I looked through the peephole. It was Dad. He didn't wait to be invited in. Just walked right past me like this was still his house. Like nothing had changed. We need to talk, he said. I didn't move. We're talking. He started pacing, rubbing his hands together like he was stressed but holding back just enough to still seem reasonable. You blindsided us, he said, after everything I've done for you. I blinked. Everything you've done for me? He looked at me like I was the crazy one. You think this is normal? Pulling out of a mortgage? Leaving your family to scramble? Your mother hasn't stopped crying. Emily's furious. You embarrassed everyone. There it was again. You. No ownership. No apology. Just blame. I folded my arms. You mean mocking me in front of the whole table? Leaving me out on purpose? Laughing while I sat by the kitchen? That's your definition of family? He scoffed. Oh, come on. You're really doing all this because of where you sat? No, I said sharply. I'm doing this because it wasn't just the seat. It was the message. And the message was loud and clear. I don't belong. He pointed at me. We didn't say that. You didn't have to. He went quiet. Then, we thought you'd understand. We figured you'd want space. You're always so particular. I stared at him. Space? From a table I paid for? From a dinner I organized? You're twisting things. He snapped. You're trying to punish us. Overreacting. Like always. No, I said. I'm responding. Finally. He stepped closer. Tone softening like he was making an effort. Look, we're in a tough spot now. If this goes through, we might lose the house. You know that, right? I do, I said, and I'm okay with it. His face changed, shock. Then fury. You're really going to let that happen? I'm not letting anything happen. I'm just not stopping it anymore. There's a difference. He stared at me like I was a stranger. You're being cruel, he muttered. That one stung. Cruel? No, I was cruel to myself for staying this long. For picking up every tab. Every favor. Every burden they quietly handed me while pretending I didn't carry anything. Cruel would have been nuking the accounts without notice. Suing them. Posting it all online. I didn't do that. I just stepped away. He turned toward the door. Then paused. We didn't think you'd care. He said. So quietly I almost missed it. And that was the truth, wasn't it? They didn't think I'd care. Because I had made myself small for so long. They forgot I was capable of saying no, of walking away, of drawing a line. They mistook my silence for weakness. They mistook my kindness for convenience. I didn't respond, didn't need to. Eventually, he left. No apology, no hug, just the sound of the door clicking shut behind him. 3 days later, the house went up for sale. I saw it listed on Zillow. Neatly photographed like a memory I no longer needed. That night, I got an email from Mom. No message. Just a link to a shared photo album from a beach trip we took in 2007. Like pictures would make me forget what happened. Like nostalgia could override clarity. I didn't open it, because I didn't need a reminder of what we used to be. I needed space to become who I am now. Someone who doesn't confuse guilt with love. Someone who doesn't pay for a seat he's never allowed to sit in. Someone who understands that letting go isn't cruel, it's necessary. I didn't go to Sunday dinner. Didn't text back. Didn't call. Didn't circle it on the calendar like I always used to, holding out hope that maybe this time would be different. Instead, I stayed home. I opened my own bottle of wine. Made lasagna, my favorite. Not because it was tied to any tradition, but because it reminded me of nights when I cooked for myself without obligation. No family critique. No quiet tension. No sideways looks about portion size or seasoning. Just me, the music I actually liked, and the warmth of my kitchen. It was the first time in years that I didn't feel the need to perform for anyone. No mask, no role, no family politics to navigate. Just peace. That Sunday dinner was supposed to be their do-over, their olive branch. "We'll make lasagna, your favorite," Mom had said in her voicemail. Like that somehow erased the laminated bar menu. The smug looks. The years of quiet dismissal. But lasagna doesn't fix everything. Especially when it's served with guilt and manipulation as sides. So I made my own. And while theirs was probably over-baked and full of unspoken tension, mine was layered with actual flavor. Real butter. Good cheese. The kind of lasagna made slowly. Intentionally. The kind you savor. By 9 p.m., I was halfway through my second glass of wine. Scrolling Zillow, I saw the house had officially been marked pending. They were moving, not downsizing, like Mom would probably tell everyone. Not restarting like Emily might post in some cryptic Instagram caption. No, they were being forced to let go of a house I once helped save. And for the first time, I felt nothing. Not guilt, not joy, just clarity. The same clarity I felt walking out of that restaurant. The same calm resolve that led me to reclaim every dollar, every password, every inch of ground I had surrendered over the years. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even need closure. I needed freedom. And I finally had it. A week later, I booked a flight. Italy. No itinerary. No deadline. Just me in a suitcase filled with clothes that didn't scream reliable oldest son. And a passport that had been collecting dust for 3 years. I landed in Florence on a Tuesday. The air was crisp. The kind that made you feel like every inhale was a reset. I wandered the streets like I had nowhere to be, which was true. I had no one waiting on me. No errands to run for anyone. No inbox full of family demands disguised as small favors. I drank espresso at a cafe that didn't care who I was. I watched the sun dip behind terracotta roofs with zero pressure to take the perfect photo. I let the silence stretch. And for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. In that stillness, I met a version of myself I hadn't seen in years, the one who didn't carry everyone else's weight. Who wasn't the emotional custodian of a broken family dynamic. The one who got to decide what mattered and what didn't. I started writing again, not for work, not for deadlines, just for me. I sat on a bench near the Arno River and sketched out ideas for a book I'd been afraid to begin. I filled pages with things that had nothing to do with being a son or a brother or a provider. Just thoughts, just dreams. And then one evening, my phone buzzed. An unsaved number. But I knew it. Of course I did. "Mom, I hope you're okay. We're all having a hard time. Dad hasn't been the same. We miss you." I stared at the message for a long time. There were no apologies, no acknowledgments of what had happened. Just another emotional hook, baited with guilt and wrapped in nostalgia. I typed one word, "goodbye," and I blocked the number. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted to hurt them. But because I knew how this would go. A few tears. A vague promise. And then, slowly, the expectations would creep back in. The emotional bills would start to arrive again. Show up here. Cover this. Stay quiet about that. And I'd find myself back in the role I had finally shed. No, thank you. I didn't come to Italy to escape. I came here to arrive, in my own life. And with every sunrise, I felt more present, more whole, more mine. No more dinners where I wasn't welcome. No more half-hearted "we miss you" texts when what they really missed was my help. No more pretending that proximity equals love. I wasn't the backup plan anymore. I was the main character. So I kept walking, past cathedrals and fountains and markets filled with things that had no emotional strings attached. I made friends with strangers. I took naps in the middle of the day. I laughed at nothing in particular. And for the first time, I didn't wonder if they noticed I was gone. Because I had stopped needing to be noticed. I just needed to be. And that, finally, was enough.